नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लव प्रहित प्रज्ञानगण प्रत्यगर्थो सोहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि. Good afternoon. Today we will be delving into the Vedanta Darshana. We have finished in the last 8 episodes or so, 6 episodes, the Yoga Darshana of Patanjali. Now, the 6 darshanas which exist in the Indian philosophy, the first being Sankhya, second being Yoga, third being Nyaya, fourth being Vaiseshika, fifth being Mimamsa, and sixth being Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. So these 6 darshanas are the foundations of Indian philosophy, and all of them are theistic, because we also have the atheistic darshanas of Buddhist and Jain, that is separate. So among the theistic darshanas, the first one was Sankhya, which was partly atheistic, but it turned into theistic in yoga. Nyaya was logic, and Vaiseshika was physics. Then Mimamsa was the religious ritual dump. And then Vedanta, or Uttara Mimamsa as it called, is the subject of today. And it was the last of all the 6. Therefore, it was the latest, the first being Sankhya of Kapila. So thought process evolved from Sankhya's Kapila, of Kapila's talking of Prakriti and Purusha, to Brahman in the Vedanta Darshana. So basically, Sri Aurobindo, for example, has demonstrated that the equivalent of Purusha is Brahman, or Shiva, Vishnu, Narayana, all are equal. In his book on Life Divine, he has built a chapter on this. And the equivalent of Prakriti is Lakshmi or Shakti or Maya. So they are all equivalents, but they are not exactly same. So now coming to the Vedanta Darshana itself, on which I will give an introduction first for about half an hour, then go into the Upanishads proper, like Ishavasya Upanishads. I propose to start today if time permits. So the Vedanta Darshana comprises primarily of what is called Prasthana Traya, 3 texts. The Upanishads, all of them, 108 Upanishads, of which 11 are most prominent, though they are not the only important ones. They became popular because of Adi Shankaracharya's commentaries written only for 11 or 10. Now, though 108 are there, and originally some 1100 were supposed to be. Then the second text, which part of the Vedanta Darshana core, is Bhagavad Gita itself. You all know Bhagavad Gita. We have been brought up in Bhagavad Gita. And the third is Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras is a text written by Badarayana, who is supposed to be Vyasa himself, in form of sutras. Just like Patanjali wrote Yoga Sutras, Badarayana wrote Brahma Sutras, summarizing the thought processes in the Upanishads. So, what is the basic question? The word Vedanta itself means the end of Veda. Why it is called end of Veda? Because Veda is there right from the beginning. So Veda is comprising of 4 parts. First is called the mantras, the Samhita. Like you might have heard of the Purusha Sukta, Narayana Sukta, or Bhu Sukta, Prana Sukta, all these suktas in Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda. In Samaveda, of course, there is a lot of music. The 7 swaras are promoted in Samaveda, which later turned into Gandharva Veda, which became music and dance. But in all the other 3 Vedas, only 3 swaras are there. Udatta, Anudatta, and Swarita, high pitch, low pitch, and medium. So in these Vedas, the Samhita Bhagam is the chanting, the hymns. Normally, the word Veda means chanting. You might have heard Vedic chanting many times. So that is the first part. Samhita it is called, the collection of mantras or hymns with pitch, swara. The second is called Brahmana Granthas. That is, they are the lab manuals for performing yajnas. Because Veda is not only chanted, but it is chanted in the yajnas. So when to chant, what to chant, where to chant, and how to chant, and for how long, and then do what, then what kind of oblation of ghee to be put in the, yajna kunda at what time. So these kind of questions are dealt in the Brahmana Grantha, Shatapatha Brahmana, Shadvimshati Brahmana, Panchavimshati Brahmana. There are so many of them. And it so happened that the first copy of Shatapatha Brahmana could be located only in Germany, because by then already those manuscripts were smuggled to Germany and they were not left in India. But notwithstanding the manuscript, the chanting was again oral. And of course, the Mantra Bhaga is not printed, only Max Muller ever printed for the first time, as late as 19th century. But before that, never were Vedas printed, only chanted. So that's why it's called Shruti, only hearing. The Guru chants, the disciple chants. So they learn from childhood chanting. All of us, all Brahmins, and even Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, all the Dvijas have learned Vedic chanting for ages and ages, from childhood to up at about for 12 years. For 12 years, they have to learn chanting. So Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka. Third was Aranyaka, because Aranyaka refers to a situation of people staying in forest. So unlike or partly like today, IITs are all on forest areas, more or less. So similarly, the institutions were in forest areas. So people left their kids there. Kids were brought up in the Gurukulas. So they used to have discussions, deliberations. They are called Aranyakas. And out of them, the most sophisticated, they are called Upanishads, because Upanishad simply means sitting nearby. So when you are sitting nearby, of course, now we are sitting in the cyberspace nearby. But those days, only physical space was there. So now sitting nearby, Upanishad, just sitting nearby and listening. So the beauty of the Upanishad discourse is that it is free from all ritualism, because rituals are already finished in the other bhagas of Veda. So the Anta of the Veda, Vedanta, is the total philosophical discourse. That is, we have the questions asked and answers given. Like there are questions being asked, like what makes the mind work, for example. Kene shitam patati preshitam mana. In Kena Upanishad, there is an Upanishad which is given the title itself called Kena, by what? So he asks questions, by what reason, or by what force, or by what cause the thought process happens. It's kind of fundamental questions. And then there are other questions like, what is the source of this universe? Whether the universe came into existence by itself, or there is a source of creation, or there is a source of sustenance and dissolution. So questions like this. In fact, the beauty of the Upanishad discourse is that there is no dogma. There is never a dogma to be accepted blindly and followed and so on. Only questions are asked. In any knowledge discovery, it's a question answering that makes the discovery happen. If you simply tell something, that doesn't mean it is received. So, in fact, this question itself was there in one of the Upanishads. Yajnavalkya was asked by his wife Gargi, when is communication complete? Can any one of you answer? The answer Yajnavalkya gave is when it is received. When the message is received or information is received, then only communication is complete. In communication systems, we transmit. If nothing is received for some reason, then it's a waste. So communication is complete only when it is received. So these kind of questions are asked because the communication has to be completed. So I want to make you all realize a very important fact that the Upanishads are free from dogma. They are free from any kind of a fixed framework which you are forced to believe or forced to blindly accept. No, they are based on questioning. And of course, the answers are given by the Guru. In fact, in the Kathopanishad, for example, Nachiketa questions Yama, what happens after death? And like this, Prashna Upanishad, one Upanishad name itself is Prashna, like Kena Upanishad. So like this, we have 108 Upanishads. I have a text here, which is a thick text, which is having all the 108 Upanishads original text in Sanskrit and Telugu script. Only the text, no commentaries, nothing. So now the beauty of Upanishads is that they come into existence in historical sequence after the Vedas, but before the Puranas and before the Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata. So if you take the timeline, see, Vedas are now associated with the Saraswati River, which has been located from NASA pictures underground, not less than 40,000 BC, because the Saraswati River dried out before Mahabharata war itself. One date for Mahabharata war is 3102 BC, another date is from 5000 BC. Whatever it is, around 4000 BC, the Saraswati River was already dried up. Whereas the Rigveda explains a full-fledged Saraswati River, biggest river, Nadi Tame, Ambi Tame, it says. And then on that river banks, there were ashrams of Vasishta, Vishwamitra, so on and so forth. And even some of them are even there today also. I went to many of those spots. There are temples constructed there in Haryana and Rajasthan, an area called Brahmavarta. Now, this is not less than 30,000-40,000 years BC. The Vedas themselves. And again, all Vedas are not one point of time. They gradually added up. It's an encyclopedia kind of thing. All knowledge is going on, adding up. From unknown time, maybe 1 lakh years, we don't know. So, whereas the later stage, the Upanishads, which are inquisitive debates and discussions of investigative nature, speculative nature. In fact, the speculative nature comes even in the Vedas sometimes. Like there is an Nasadeya Sukta, which talks of the origin of universe, cosmology, and finally it says, who knows? If there is a God, he may know, or even he may not know. Like that, they talk. So this scientific spirit of being investigative rather than instructive. If you look at the other religions, they are just instructive. They give you a dogma and they say that you better accept it. If you don't accept it, you will be killed or you will be put in prison. This is not the way it happens in India, because in India it was a free society right from the beginning till today. And even today you have the people like, atheists and communists who are all questioning. Why not? So we allow that question. We don't say, you should not question. You just accept. If you don't accept, we will punish you, we'll kill you. All that kind of a thing is not there. And that freedom of thought, like Rabindranath Tagore says in his Gitanjali, where the mind is without fear, where the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the clear track of reason has not lost its way in the dead desert of dead habits. So into that heaven of freedom, oh my father, let my country awake. This is Gitanjali, I quoted in English. That was already there in India, and it is there even today, the freedom thought. So now the Vedanta, why it is called Vedanta is because Upanishads are in the fourth part of the Vedas. First is Samhita, second is Brahmana, third is Aranyaka, fourth is Upanishad. So basically there are discussions between the student and teacher. And the teachers are of the category like Prabhu. Now coming to the Upanishad period, It is around 10,000 BC. Is one of the calculations. There is no guarantee of that. Of course, later on, also many Upanishads could have been added. Because I went to a place called Dosi Hill in Brahmavarta. One of our good friends, Sudhir Bhargava, who attended some of our sessions past, he heads a trust of Brahmavarta. That is where Hemu lived, Hemachandra. He lived there, Vikramaditya, who conquered Akbar also in Haryana. So that place has a big mountain called Dosi Hill. That's where Bhrigu lived. They show a spot where his ashram was there. And nearby was Uddalaka's ashram. Uddalaka is a character in Kathopanishad. And Bhrigu is the author of Taittiriya Upanishad. So Bhrigu migrated to Iran via Gujarat. And Bhrigu's son is Shukracharya, who became the guru of the Asuras. In other words, maybe Iranians, we don't know at that time. They were all Hindus only, but who went there. So the Upanishads, they were post-Vedic, but pre-Bhagavad Gita, pre-Mahabharata, pre-Puranic. Much. So if we say around 10,000 BC, because Mahabharata war is around 3,000 BC. So there is quite a substantial gap in between. And the beauty here is that the Bhagavad Gita itself proclaims that it is a summary of the Upanishads. Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dogdha Goparanandana Pardho Vatsa Sudhi Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amrutam Mahat. This is a Gita Mahatyam statement. It's not inside the Gita, but Gita Mahatyam outside Gita. It says that there is a cow called all Upanishads, and there is a cowboy milk man called Krishna, who is taking out the milk from that cow and giving that milk to whom? To one calf by name Arjuna. Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Goparanandana Pardho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amrutam Mahat. So this Gita is nothing but the milk taken out of the cow called Upanishads, all the Upanishads together. And in fact, you find many words as it is reproduced in the Bhagavad Gita. Most of you may not know this. Many words in Bhagavad Gita are directly reproduced from Upanishads, from Kathopanishad, from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and so on. Like the characters of the Upanishads are like we have Yajnavalkya, who is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, his wives, two wives, Gargi and Maitri, their discussions and questions. Then we have Bhrigu of Taittiriya Upanishad, we have Uddalaka in Kathopanishad, Nachiketa's father or teacher or whatever. I went to the house of Uddalaka, which is still there as a tourist spot in a place called Brahmavarta in Haryana, Rajasthan border. We have Dosi Hill. And Dosi Hill is a place where Chavana became young. And that's why we have Chavana Prash. So Chavana became young in that hill valley where there is a well of copper water. So daily he was taking bath with copper water. I also took bath, but only once. That's why I didn't become so young. So this whole thing is a very historical sequence. Now the important point two important points I want to convey. First point is that the Vedas themselves are extremely vast and they are extremely difficult to interpret or understand or analyze. It is almost impossible. That's why they are compared to forest. So the Upanishads have culled out the knowledge essence. That's why they are called Jnana Kanda. The Vedic lore has two parts, the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda. The Karma Kanda means performing various yajnas or the Sanjam. Tomorrow is Upakarma, you have there a new yajna. So the Karma Kanda is performed by chanting Vedic mantras in particular rituals in particular way, and there are specialists for each of the four Vedas. The person concerned with the Yajurveda is called Adharyu in the Yajnas, and Hota, Udgata, and Brahm. So these are all different roles, which Udgata is for Samaveda, Atharvaveda, Hota, and Rigveda. Like this, there are four. Brahma is there, apart from the Yajamana, who is the actual owner of that yajna. So that Karma Kanda aside, that Karma Kanda is dealt extensively in the Mimamsa Darshan before Vedanta Darshan. And after, of course, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika. So Mimamsa Sutras are authored by Jaimini. Jaimini is a direct disciple of Vyasa. So Vyasa categorized the entire Vedic lore into 4 Vedas, broken it, or even he made into specific chapters, suktas. Then he taught it to 4 disciples, Paila, Jaimini, Vaishampayana, and Sumanta, 4 people, 4 Vedas. And they were asked to go to different parts of the country or different parts of the world and go on teaching to their children or to their students. So we have thousands of ashrams and thousands of teachers and disciples, and this went on from Vyasa's time till today. It is going on, though it is diminished by 90% or 99%. More than 90% of the Vedas are supposed to have been lost. We have only around 10% available today. But even that itself is quite huge. I have at my house a large number of volumes of Vedas. Whereas the Upanishads is a different story. The Upanishads don't talk of any rituals, don't talk of any hymns or mantras. They directly talk of core philosophy, core questioning, in a way scientific, very much scientific, logical, interrogative, investigative. As I gave you many examples, the Upanishads are discussions, and that's why they are called Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, 2 parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. And in Krishna clarifies in Gita, Sarvam Karma Hinam Pada Jnane Parisamapyate. All karma is meant only for achieving Jnana. Vijnana, Brahmajnana or Atmajnana. So once Brahmajnana or Atmajnana is achieved, then you get liberated, moksha. So all the darshanas are aiming at moksha only, but in different approaches. Yoga Darshana has a different approach. It is a psychological process of controlling the mind. And Vedanta Darshana has a different approach of knowledge approach. Like for example, all our IITians and our other friends, they're all knowledge-oriented people. We are all, in fact, it's a knowledge society in which we are living. And in knowledge society, we have knowledge seekers. It is jnana. So ordinary worldly life, worldly jnana is only useful for mundane life, like for getting jobs and earning money. Worldly knowledge will not help you in getting moksha, freedom, liberation. So only the Brahmajnana, and which is related to Atmajnana, is the path for moksha, and that Jnana Kanda is correct, totally focused in the Upanishads. The Upanishads themselves are summarized as Brahma Sutras in a very, very crypt, strong sutra form by Badarayana. And the same Upanishads are conveyed in the Bhagavad Gita form as a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So you can see the importance of the Upanishads. On one side, they are deriving the entire knowledge content of the Vedas, separating the ritual and yajna, karma kanda and all that, unconcerned with that, but purely jnana kanda. And on the other side, the same knowledge repository of the Upanishads is transmitted into the outside world through Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and Brahma Sutras by Badarayana. So these 3 together, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras and Bhagavad Gita, are called Prasthana Trayas. So our great gurus, starting with Shankaracharya, and then of course Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarkacharya, and so on and so forth, they have interpreted these 3 texts, the Upanishads. In fact, of course, as I said, there are 108 Upanishads available. I have it with me. I have been studying for the last several years, out of which only the first 10 or 11 are taken as serious, because Shankaracharya wrote commentary only on them. It does not mean the rest are not important. But how many he will write in his short life? So because he wrote commentary only on those, all others wrote only on those. Sarvepalli Radhakrishna also wrote in English. Ramanujacharya wrote, Madhvacharya wrote, everyone wrote only on those 10 or 11. And then of course the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, Upanishad Bhashya, of Adi Shankaracharya. So these different bhashyas of different three texts, different Upanishads and different texts like Brahma Sutras and Bhagavad Gita all have a coherent thought structure. They're not talking in multidirectional way. There is a very coherent, focused thought process which is being conveyed on the questions, the answers to questions like how this universe came, who am I, who is the creator of this universe, if he exists, or the universe created itself. So these questions have been addressed and answered to the extent feasible by the teacher. Of course, the students sometimes ask again and again, like in the case of Taittiriya Upanishad again, there is a very interesting dialogue between Bhrigu and Varuna, whose guru. Bhrigu is the son of Varuna. What is Brahman? First of all, definition of Brahman you should know. Brahman is defined as Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivante yasmin pravishanti tad Brahma. Brahman is that from which entire universe, all things in universe are getting created and getting sustained and getting absorbed upon dissolution. So Srishti Sthiti Laya, the source of entities in this world, living and non-living both, moving and non-moving both, Chara Chara Jagat. Then their sustenance, because they live for some time. Every object in this world sustains for some time and then it dies. It gets dissolved back into the same source from which it came. So yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yasmin pravishanti tad Brahma. So Brahman is defined as that from which all the things in this world, both inanimate and animate, moving and unmoving, originate, sustain, and dissolve. What is that, he asked? So the answer given by his guru or father, Varuna, is he didn't give any answer. He simply said, you think about it, you meditate, you do tapasya to find out what is the answer. So Bhrigu performs the tapasya on his own, then comes out with an answer saying that annam brahmed vijaniya, food is the Brahman, because out of food all beings are coming into existence. On food they sustain, and when they die they go back into the mud from which again food is generated. And Varuna never said yes or no. He simply said, go and meditate once again. So second time Bhrigu comes back to Varuna and says, Prano brahmed vijaniya. Prana, life, energy, life, because everything is born in prana, everything is sustained by prana, everything gets dissolved by prana goindi, prana mundi, prana muchindi. So again Varuna says, go and meditate. He never said no, he never said yes. Again now Bhrigu meditates third time, and then he says, Mano brahmed vijaniya. Everything is in the mind. So everything comes out of the mind, everything is sustained by the mind, everything goes back to the mind. Mano brahmed vijaniya. Then Varuna again says, go and meditate once again. Fourth time. So now he says, Vijnanam brahmed vijaniya. Vijnana is Brahman. Again he says, go back. Then finally, fifth time he says, Anando brahmed vijaniya. Anandera sarvan vedan vijayante sarvo jatan jivan yasmin pravishanti. After that, there was no discussion. So the Panchakoshas are described here. I'm just giving you a few glimpses. I will be covering in detail these Upanishads as we go by in every lecture. I'll have more lectures. In fact, I have an objective of creating a full record. There's already a YouTube channel on my name. There are about 38 videos. But I want to cover all the Upanishads because we are going to deliver an online course. They will be used there. This is just an introduction session to the Upanishads and Vedanta Darshana. Now it is also called Jnana Yoga because Jnana Yoga comprises of a process of acquiring the supreme knowledge, transcendental knowledge, from the Shruti. Shruti means Upanishads, and of course Veda, which is the father of Upanishads. Now, how Upanishads and Veda are related? Because as I told you, Upanishads cull out the knowledge content of Vedas and keep separately as Jnana Kanda. But I'll give you an interesting episode in my own life. In my childhood, when I noted down the various mantras of Yajurveda concerning with the system of yoga, because I am into yoga, I noted down in a diary. And after I grew up, and when I was in NIC in Hyderabad, the BRKR Bhavan, I happened to go through a Upanishad called Shvetashvatara Upanishad. And there I suddenly found the same mantras are repeated here. Then I realized that this Shvetashvatara Upanishad is nothing but a compilation of many mantras from Yajurveda and some from Rigveda also. Then that means Upanishads are actually derivatives of the Vedas. It is like a PhD thesis, a PhD thesis, they will quote from this book and that book and this paper and that paper, and then maybe produce something new. So then I realized that the Upanishads were something like a research thesis coming out of the Vedas. So this is the connection between Vedas and Upanishads. And the beauty here is in Jnana Yoga, if you achieve that Jnana, then you are liberated. Liberation is what? Freedom. It can be freedom instantaneously, at the moment. It can be freedom after death, not to be born again. Because normally, it is declared that everyone who dies has to be born again. Because as compulsory as everybody is born, it has to die. Can you show me anybody who has escaped death? In fact, if he doesn't die, then people wonder why he's not dying. So that is called aging. In fact, death is considered as time, kalam jesara. So it is also mentioned in the Gita, the same sentence, Jatasya dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And a person who died has to be born again. Because when you are born again, you can imagine what kind of turmoils you have to go through once again. This life we had enough. We still had not enough. I mean, every day we are suffering. Since childhood, the KG class onwards, the schools and colleges and whatnot. It goes on like this, and we have not been able to come out of it till today, in this life. And if you are born again, depending on the circumstances in which you are born, what kind of turmoils you will have to go through, you can imagine. And if at all you are born as a human being, or if you are not born in a forest or in Africa or somewhere. So it is better to be not born again. This is the conclusion all the scholars have drawn. So how to be not born again? That is called moksha state. Apart from that, in this life itself, people are suffering a lot. How to get freedom from that suffering? Suffering due to anger, suffering due to violence. You just open up the news channels, you'll see about Taliban and whatnot. All kinds of things happen. And why they are happening there, and why we are to be suffering for those things. They are happening for various reasons. And this brings us to a very important issue. What is the relevance of this subject today? Today, if you look at the whole world, there is complete turmoil. Take Taliban itself, for example. So what is the root cause of this conflict there? The root cause is terrorism. It is violence. Why is it coming? Because those people, I just saw one recording, all the cabinet members of Taliban government going to come up now, they were all Islamic scholars. They were mullahs and maulvis and imams. They have got degrees in madrasas, and they were teaching religion in madrasas before they turned into politics and terrorism. Now, probably they are thinking that the whole world is their enemy, or that particular opposite camp. Surprisingly, in Afghanistan, all are Muslims, but they fight with each other. I don't understand how it can happen. So, at least if you think that America is their enemy, because Americans are not in their mold, so they attack them. So now the surprising thing is, The root cause of conflict today is this very same religion about which we are talking about. Religion is the root cause of conflict today in this world. Between one religion pitted against another religion. You know the names, I don't have to tell you. Surprisingly, is this valid? So when we delve back in past, we find answers. How invalid is this conflict or is this violence? Because this violence and conflict presumes that people are different, the theories are different, the religion is different, the philosophy is different, it is opposite. Is it really opposite? Just now in morning, I had a conversation with one Mr. Mushtaq Ahmed, who was supposed to attend even today, but I don't know if he's there today. So he told he has studied Upanishads. He's a great scholar of Quran and he has studied Ishavasya Upanishad and Shvetasudra Upanishad and other Upanishads. And he says the description of ultimate truth given there is valid from his own Quran point of view. Can you believe this? I was pleasantly shocked and surprised. And if these, people like Islamic scholars also study Upanishads, really, like Mushtaq Ahmad did for a long time, then if they also realize that there is nothing which is against their theology or philosophy, then they may stop attacking Indians or Indian embassy. Or similarly, about other religions in our other countries, there is a lot of prejudice, there is a lot of innocence or ignorance or lack of knowledge, lack of enlightenment. Because when you go back in time, because if you go back to Upanishad periods around 10,000 BC, there was no Islam, there was no Christianity, there was no Buddhism, there was no Jainism, there was no Judaism, there was no Zoroastrianism. Only Vedas were there and the Upanishads came throughout the globe. Because these people migrated all over the globe, like Prabhu went to Iran and all that. So Egypt also later, and then Mesopotamia, Iran, of course, you know already. So there are only 3-4 civilizations parallelly. Indian, other than Indian, it is Iranian, which is almost same as Indian at that time. Then Chinese, which is again influenced by Indian. In fact, the Chinese ambassador to India in 1947 declared that China is a cultural colony of India. And then we have the Greek and Roman are very recent. There was no Greek language before 1000 BC. And Roman is much later. So all that we have is Egyptian, which is again very similar to India. And the people were very similar. I know Egyptians whom I met, you can't distinguish. They're from Indians. That's it. And their culture, their way of thinking, and their ancient religious beliefs. So many things are more or less same. Then we have Chinese, which is a colony of Indian civilization. And then we have Iraqi, that is Mesopotamian, Sumerian, Assyrian, Akkadian. If you dig into their religious practices, you find same Puranic Hinduism there. So it is totally wrong to think that they're all different and you have to fight with each other and kill each other. Now, if you look at the scriptures, you start with the latest Quran or Guru Granth Sahib. Take Guru Granth Sahib. Guru Granth Sahib is a compilation of extracts from various previous religious texts of all religions. Admittedly, by Guru Nanak, it was prepared like that. And there is nothing to worry or conflict because he's just quoting other texts as it is from the Vedas, from Gita, from Upanishads, and also from some Sufi saints and like that. So before that is Quran. Now normally people think Quran is a Muslim religious scripture and the God of Quran is Allah, who is totally different. How is it possible? If you ask who is Allah, they will say Allah is the same source of all creation, sustenance and dissolution. It is exactly same definition as Brahman in the Upanishads. And sometimes they might drop the sustenance and dissolution parts, only have creator, keep on saying. It's the same definition as in the Upanishads. Then you go to the Bible. Again, Bible talks of Yahweh, Jehovah, the Jews talk of Yahweh. If you ask who is Yahweh, that's a creator. I want to ask all of you whether there can be 5-6 creators to this universe. Because this universe is only one, there are no 5-6 universes. So if at all there is a creator, it has to be only one creator. It cannot be multiple. Therefore, the nature of creator, nature of divine personality, supreme being has to be the same. Why are we fighting? And they keep on saying he's only one, he's only one, he's only one. Who says? Veda says, Upanishad says, Quran says, Bible says. In my book on Dharma Yoga, I have given quotations where all of them say he's only one, he's only one, he's only one. It is only one, it is only one. So what is this confusion? What for we are fighting? So these questions can be answered through the Vedanta Darshana. If you understand the Upanishads, they turn out to be the original thought leadership source for the entire world. And as time progressed, people have come out with different texts, different scriptures, and they have their own disciples. Now there are so many gurus and they have so many disciples. Are you aware that all these gurus are teaching them the same text? Text may be different, but the content is the same. If you examine carefully, if you even within Hinduism, you have plenty of gurus. You have plenty of sampradayas. You have Ramanuja, you have Madhva, you have Shaiva Siddhanta, you have, of course, Shankaracharya. All of them seem to be different. But are they fighting and killing each other? They are all having the same source books. The same source books are the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras. Within India, outside India also, I am going to prove in this series of lectures that the thought process, the knowledge content is the same because it goes back in time. So if you go back in time, then you will find the Vedas and Upanishads as the oldest, followed by the Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras written by Vyasa himself. And that thought process is dissipating down, diffusing down into Bible, Quran, and Guru Granth Sahib, and even up to the latest, groups like Nirankaris or Akalis and this and that. So many are there. Their gurus are there, gurudams are there, their disciples are there. They cannot tell anything out of the world new because it is the same spiritual philosophical content. So once you realize this common content, it is like, people keep fighting with regard to, let's say, brothers or cousins. When they go back to the previous generation, they realize that they're having a common ancestor. Maybe 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations. Then why will they fight and kill each other after that? Why not? So the objective of my series on the Vedanta Darshana or the Jnana Yoga is to make people realize that in the origin, all the philosophical discussions, discourses, and thoughts have a common origin, and that is the Upanishads. So now, actually, let me go a little deeper before I stop today. And this common origin of framework comprises of 3 parts. First is Dharma, second is Yoga, third is Brahman, Parabrahman. So these 3 things are originally sourced in the Upanishads from the Vedas. Then they are interpreted in and maybe localized versions by various acharyas like Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Madhva school and whatnot. So the core principles of what is Brahman, the original source of all creation, and the sustenance and dissolution, So that nature of Brahman, nature of the cause of creation, sustenance, and dissolution is described very, very elaborately in the Upanishads. And today I'll just touch upon or begin as an inaugural Upanishad. I will not be able to cover fully, but we can touch upon and leave and continue next time as the first Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad. And before the Upanishad starts, in every Upanishad there is what is called the Shanti Mantra, Shanti Patha. That Shanti Mantra itself conveys a most profound meaning. Let us first do that, and we have time for another 10 minutes, 15 minutes to cover to finish this session. I will chant that Shanti Mantra, which is very famous. You can also chant, you can close your eyes and chant. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This literal meaning of this sentence, this mantra, what is called Shanti Mantra, let us analyze. Purna, it talks of Purna, fullness, completeness. You can take completeness as either infinity or zero, or just say Purna. So first he says that is Purna, Purnamada, Adi Purna, Purnavidam, Idi Purna, Purnat Purnamudachyate. From that Purna, this Purna arose and came out. Purnasya Purnamadaya, having one Purna come out from the other Purna, Purnameva avasishyate. That Purna remains as. That's all it is. Now this has been interpreted as a description of zero. Because 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 means not total 0, it is Purna. Infinity and 0 are very closely connected. You can take it as infinity. You cannot say exact infinity because he didn't say Ananta. He said Purna, complete. What is that Purna and what is this Purna? And how this Purna came from that Purna, and even after coming out, that Purna remained as that Purna. This is a very profound statement. If you understand this, you have understood everything. I'll try to give one or two interpretations. Now, that Purna means talking of Brahman, the source of all creation, sustenance, and dissolution. And this Purna is referring to the universe. Because the universe came from that. And having come in, it remains as it is. It is not depleted to zero. Because it is transcendent. It is not only immanent, but also transcendent. Now, this is the main difference which people have to understand. Because Brahman is the transcendent, immanent reality of the universe, the source of the universe. Yavaniche janinchu jagam yavanilo palanunduleenamai yavaniyandu dindu parameshwarudevvad moola karanam vevvad anadi madhyalayudevvad sarvamudanayeina vadevvad vaninatmajunine saranam bhuvedan. So this actually, that means there is some Purna which is the source of this Purna. And having come out also, that Purna remains undepleted as it is. So you can say the universe and Brahman, or you can say the Jivatma and Paramatma, or you can just describe this as Maya. Because Maya is the mechanism of something apparently coming out of something else. Actually, it is not there. It is like water in mirage. Actually, there is no water, but it appears to be there. So the universe appears to be there. Jagan Mithya Brahma Satyam Jiva Brahmaya Aparaha. This is the sum and substance of entire Advaita knowledge. Because the same Upanishad, same Brahma Sutra, same Bhagavad Gita have been interpreted by 25 different acharyas are 25 different Siddhantas. Siddhanta is not just a theory, it is also a practical experiential process and realization process. Starting with Shankaracharya, till now so many Acharyas have come. So now this the Siddhantas are interpretable from the same words like this Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Avasishyate. Avasesha, the remainder is also Purna. So this is the first Shanti Mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad. The very first statement in the Ishavasya Upanishad is Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam. The first word is taken as the name of the Upanishad. Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam. Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. Tena Chektena Bhunjeta Ma Grudha Kasya Svidhanam. This universe is owned, created, spread, and encompassed by Isha, by the Lord, by Ishvara, not by you. It is not owned by you. Once I went to Kumbh Mela, where there's a sadhu asking others, what is owned by you? If you think you own this particular water, or this particular air, or this particular space, or this particular land, you're a big fool. So it's not owned by you. Nothing in this universe is owned by you. So Ishavasya Vidam Sarvam. Everything in this universe is spread, pervaded, created, and owned only by you, not by anybody else. Now, therefore, you don't grab others' things for yourself. You better realize this is nothing is owned by you, because when you die, you don't carry anything with you. And your own body is not owned by you, because if you try to commit suicide, the police will put you in jail. It's a crime. But then the question is, then what do I do? Kurvan neveha karmani jijiveka ichadam sama evantvai dhanike dosti sakarma lipyate nare. Then he says, as long as you live, you do things as a service orientation in the favor of the divine principle of creation. If you are in harmony, that is called dharma. If you follow dharma in your life, all your life you perform dharmacharana, then you will be free from miseries. So just two sentences, first two sutras are enough to convey the entire meaning of the entire knowledge of the Upanishads. So that's why the Ishavasya Upanishad is given very profound importance. And next time we will go in detail, our word by word meaning and analysis. So today I want to close here for the introductory session and open it for discussion or questions or clarifications for the next few minutes. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu sir. So anyone has any questions related to it, please feel free to ask.
No, very good introduction. I think we all got a very nice curiosity into the whole thing. So thank you very much, Prabhu sir.
Very good.
It's a very vast subject, and I think you have given a very good overview of this. And Vedanta is the gist of the whole. It's going to be really interesting.
Please mute your mics. Yes, sir. Thank you. We will be going delving deeper month by month. And in fact, I may have other channels of weekly sessions also for other Upanishads.
We look forward.
The different meaning of Purnam has been explained very nicely. Thank you.
No, there are many more meanings which I did not explain. I may not be able to explain also. We have very abstract subject. So mathematicians take this as 0. Purnam as 0. So 0 minus 0 is 0. So that is completeness. 0 is supposed to be completeness, not nothingness. Any other person, anything else?
Yeah, if no questions, I think we can close the session. But yes, we still have few minutes as per the schedule. If anyone or as an introduction, or how do we, what is it that your expectations are, is it in the next classes possibly you can just put forward to Prabhu sir.
Is the future programs already, sort of charted out?
Sir, actually, this is IIT Bombay Alumni Association. And Sita Mahalakshmi is the coordinator of this series called Prabhu Speak series, which I have only once in a month. But there are other recordings I'm doing. Maybe I'll do for Upanishads also, a few others. Because once in a month is too long. Maybe more frequently we'll be covering, but not yet done. But as far as the past sessions, you can see my name in Google or YouTube. And then you will find, if you see my name in YouTube, you'll find around 35, 40 videos which are already done. Kindly have a look at them, and future I'll send you whenever new thing comes. This is only once in a month.
Any recommended sequence?
Sita, can you explain the?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, currently earlier we have actually dealt with the Yoga Darshanas, the basic. Currently this episode is mostly like intro to Upanishads, and all the following as a series of Upanishads will follow. So once in a month, what is our idea is where we cover, and a pre-intro is there. Anyone interested, there's one Prabhu Speak series, one WhatsApp group and Telegram group also. So probably I will join them, and all communications will be sent in there. So I'll just ping in my number, it is there in the intro, which I have sent as part of this session also. But yes, currently the scope is we plan to cover the Upanishads more in detail, for at least 8 to 10. Yoga Darshanas, we had close to about 8-9 series of just the initial Yoga Darshana. 6 parts have been covered, 6 to 7 parts. Now it is Upanishads, which we'll be covering.
Thank you.
I think it will be
I wanted to ask the YouTube videos which Prabhu mentioned, are they available under the name Prabhu CSR or something else?
Yeah. You just say Dr. CSR Prabhu in YouTube.
All right. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, and even I will send all these series of this monthly series are also available in like Prabhu Speak series in IIT Bombay Alumni channel, Hyderabad chapter channel. I'll share that. So are you on the group as well?
I am actually I'm not there directly, but I am via another of, because I'm from IIT Delhi.
Okay.
But one of I run a small Indian spiritual forum group, and in that Indian spiritual forum we have people from IITs and IIMs.
Yeah.
And that is where I came to know about you and about Prabhu. So
yeah. So
I
will definitely
be able to. I will be able to connect with you now that you have given me the information. I'll be able to connect, and I really like the way the whole program was conducted. It's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I think it will be helpful if you have twice in a month rather than once in a month. Just check feasibility.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we'll check the feasibility as well.
Otherwise, it will be taking too long a time to complete something, even to take Upanishad.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right on. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.